Hey, Johnny, it's great to hear from you. That's funny, Austin. You sound very different today.
Is that how I sound to you?
No, not at all.
We should do this entire podcast with funny other voices.
The last thing that we need to do is let our viewers get confused as to who is who according to voices. Because it's been said before that people already, they find you and I have similar voices. Isn't that so?
I don't know what you're talking about, Jonathan.
Well, Austin, I'm merely suggesting that people seem to think that you and I audibly could be exchanged to one another.
Oh, my Lord. That would be so annoying.
That would get pretty tiring pretty quickly. I'd have to choose another accent.
I annoyed myself a little bit.
Well, at least you decided to go and localize yourself. You went deep south.
Yeah, so it's pretty slow news day. It's mostly everyone's doing next gen stuff, so.
Yep. Like getting their systems broke.
Yep.
Getting their PS4s bricked, rubbing their PS4s all over their butts, and then getting back to their younger brother and going, "Yeah, you can play it now."
Do we want to talk about the PlayStation 4, like right up off the bat there, and then?
Well, are we just going to be like, "I seen one"?
No, I mean just kind of basically just go over.
I smelled it. It smelled of the future.
I don't know, like, because if you were really interested in one, right, you had to have pre-ordered it like months ago.
Which I did.
So,
I did not do.
No, I realize that. I'm just saying I'm not sure how much this information is useful to people.
What does it smell like? Does it smell like Cordite? I bet it smells like Cordite and Ladyparts.
I'm sure it smells like the sweat of slave laborers in Foxconn factories.
Yeah, especially the broken ones.
Yeah. Do you want to just hit that right now, or do you want to wait until after the intro?
Well, I do have to do my intro, Austin.
I don't know. Sometimes we have a little bit of video game related banter before.
It's true. I mean, there's no. Should we talk about that then, or it's like? I can save my intro till later. Are we feeling it? Is this the organic movement towards discussing the topic?
I'm just saying because we didn't have an official like PlayStation 4 review on the site. James and Sean are covering PS4 stuff.
Yeah.
So just like real quick, Resogun is good. Killzone is pretty, but not particularly like innovative or anything. Knack is just kind of and Contrast is a little less than So the launch lineup not super impressive. The system itself came in a little hot. The firmware was unstable.
If you've ever read that passage from Paradise Lost where Lucifer comes flying like screaming out of heaven into hell, it's basically that. Basically.
I assume it's going to be a similar situation for the Xbox One. We talked about last week, neither system is 100% ready, but the big news here, we'll get to more specific news stories, but the one you were alluding to was the hardware failures. Apparently like 0.04% or something of the consoles were getting, are we calling it the blue light of death yet? Is that what we're calling it? I don't know.
Is it the blue light of death?
I don't know. So people are still kicking around names for it. But yeah, apparently there were some hardware failures in a small number of them. And you can't ignore that because if you bought a $400 piece of hardware, you expect it to work.
On the devil's advocate side of that, though, that if you're buying anything that costs $400 and it's like not all made out of diamond and there's things in it called like moving parts or stuff that requires electricity, you also shouldn't be surprised that there were some complications.
Yeah, I mean, a quick Google search here does see, NBC is calling it the blue light of death. Kotaku's calling it the blue light of death.
Are we going to let NBC and Kotaku name it?
I'm not saying that's what comes up first.
Can't we call it something cooler? Can't we call it the Blue Plague or something? Or like
I think the idea is to evoke the Red Ring of Death from the Xbox 360.
Yeah, but the Red Ring of Death was a terrible name as well, because that sounds like something that happens to your jacksie. Sorry, was that a colloquialized expression? I don't know if we have jacksies. I mean your butthole.
Is that what a jacksie is?
Yeah, that's what a jacksie is. It's fun to say when you're suggesting that something goes right up your jacksie. That's fun to say.
Okie dokie then.
I learned
we don't say
that term. I learned that term from an Irishman.
Colorful and interesting people.
I'm merely suggesting that Red Ring of Death was a terrible, terrible name.
It got the point across.
I know. But Blue Light of Death, that's unimaginative. It's like that's like everybody thinking that the next Xbox was going to be called the Xbox 720. It's like no, shut up.
Actually, the 720 would have been an improvement
over the one. Yeah. I agree, but that doesn't make it good. That just means that it's like, congratulations, you don't have the bubonic plague. It's only polio.
Speaking of the X-Bone, the earliest reviews hit for that, Dead Rising 3 is okay. Crimson Dragon, less okay. Loco Cycle, even less okay. So,
Austin, are you suggesting to me that the launch lineup of games for a new console system is less than stellar?
Well, here's the interesting thing. Microsoft is the embargo for Rise, Son of Rome. You know that game?
I may have heard of it.
It's the all quick-time event game by Crytek.
You mean the guys who want to make every game free-to-play except for the ones that they don't?
Exactly.
Like Rise?
The embargo for that is suspiciously much later than all the other games.
Oh.
It's not until Thursday. And if you listen to this show, you know that's not a good sign. Usually the earlier you let people know about your stuff, the more confidence you have in it. So the fact that Rise's embargo is so late in the week when everything else dropped today should tell you all you needed to know.
Don't worry, Crytek. You guys must be making money hand over fist with your brand new Warface.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what could be in someone's mind where they're like, I'm bored. I want to play a video game. Of all the video games in the world, which one should I just spend my time with? Warface. That sounds right.
Obviously. I mean, the very title itself evokes a deep Faustian struggle between the mask of civility that humanity wears on a day-to-day basis, but then the raging animal that thrives underneath to rip and tear asunder its enemies. Either that, or some dude was just like, Warface, haha, cool.
One of those two.
One of those two. I won't tell you which!
Yeah, so I guess that's a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in a nutshell. I mean, people basically made up their minds already about which one they want or which one they don't. I don't know how... reviews are coming. Contrast should be up soon. Killzone should be up soon. You can read those with your faces if you want, but there's not any surprises, you know?
I'm just trying to imagine if I had a PS4
yeah.
right now, what I would be doing with it.
Well, Sony sent me the launch lineup. I have all the games. I just don't have a system personally yet. So
why?
That's the thing. That's just the way it worked out. Because I'm not going to fly to New York to have them watch me play games.
Why?
Because I have dignity, Johnny.
Some might argue that.
You're right, actually. Don't tell anyone about this podcast.
Let's wait until we get the title for today's podcast, and then we'll talk about dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another exciting episode of Great Moments in Refreshment History. Yes, Great Moments in Refreshment History, where we discuss when greatness, the greatness of human civilization, the best that humanity has to offer, comes face to face with the greatest moments that refreshment has achieved in its entire existence. Today, we discuss the Casablanca Conference, January 1943. Casablanca, French Morocco. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and the fighting French Charles de Gaulle meet to discuss continuing strategy for the next leg of the war in Europe. But what many people don't know is that British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, on the eve of January 17th, enjoyed the greatest cup of tea ever brewed by man. And we here at Great Moments in Refreshment History have come upon a very rare audio recording of Mr. Churchill himself enjoying this cup of tea. With no further ado, we begin. Thank you. Yes. Oh. Yeah. Yes. Oh. Oh my. Yeah. Yes. Um. Um. Mm.
How long would you do this if I didn't stop you?
I'd probably get through that whole cup of tea.
I never know, because I don't want to cut you off if you have like a bit planned.
Yeah.
But I never, because I know you'll fucking just read the dictionary if I let you.
You bet I will. I will read the dictionary with as much enthusiasm as I could possibly muster for as long as my voice would let me.
Yeah, working with you is a delicate balancing act. You got to give you enough leash to amusingly hang yourself, but not so much that you just get away.
I am in such danger of getting away so much of the time.
You just jump the fence and take off.
I remember the episode when it was just James and I. He just let me roll. And I ran out. I ran out of steam so fast.
He doesn't care.
No.
That's the thing. He feels no personal responsibility towards the quality of this show.
True.
So,
and he's not going to be held responsible either.
Exactly. So that's why he's not here.
I think also he really just enjoyed, watching me run off the cliff. Because some of them are like, like the threats you get, like the 7-year-old who threatens to run away. I'm gonna do it, and then they like pack up their bag, and they're like, I'm gonna go. Oh, you're gonna miss me. It's gonna be terrible. And then they like stand on the porch, and they're like, I'm running away. I'm gonna go. Any second now. And they get like down to the end of the driveway, and they're like, what's for dinner?
Whereas you just immediately, just no packing, just jump on a motorcycle and just pop a wheelie out of there as you go as fast as humanly possible towards the end of the driveway.
And James was just like, you know what? I'm going to let him go ahead and run into that brick wall at the end of the street.
he was standing there in a cut-off T-shirt, fucking waving the flag.
Yeah. James let me pull my own disaster. I was hoisted upon my own petard. I'm not even sure I have a petard to be hoisted upon.
You can't say petard. That's offensive. Special explosive, please.
What?
What? You can't say
special explosive?
You know what a petard is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is the joke I was making. Never mind.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I see what you're talking about here. Yeah.
You're so petarded.
You know what? That's my ancestors were petards, Austin.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Austin, you shouldn't be so niggardly with your jokes.
I remember I had an entire conversation about that once. Like someone was like genuinely offended by that word.
If your skill with language isn't necessarily as broad as say a writer's might be, I can understand, particularly concerning how lazy people tend to get with pronunciation these days. I guess there's also a possibility. I'm not sure what the etymology of that is.
It might just be from offensive. It might be offensive anyway, despite itself.
Well, that's the curious thing that or the thing that I'm curious about. Of course, then write it like I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry, and right in the first sentence, they're like, "Oh yeah, people kind of think it's offensive because it sounds like this other word."
No, there's an entire. I just looked it up. There's an entire Wikipedia page, controversies about the word niggardly. In the United States, there have been several controversies concerning the word niggardly, an adjective meaning stingy or miserly, due to its phonetic similarity to another word that I'm not going to say on the show. Etymologically, the two words are unrelated.
Apparently, from what I'm investigating here, is that it looks as though it may have come from niggling.
It says here, perhaps related to the Old Norse nigla, to fuss about small matters.
I see.
But now there's a whole page of all these people in America who said it and then got in trouble and then had to defend themselves.
That's a little weird. Oh my God, there is. I'm on the Wikipedia page now.
I mean, I'll link
I
it
like
under
it
the
how
cast,
they're all
obviously.
called. I like it how they're all incidents. The Wilmington, North Carolina incident. The University of Wisconsin incident. The David Howard incident. Although it looks as though none of these incidents happened before the year 1998.
Did it? Let me see.
Oh wait,
No, 1924.
yeah,
There's one.
There's one right there.
It's just Johnny and Austin read Wikipedia, the podcast.
I couldn't have come up with a better beginning myself. See, see also Tar Baby.
I think 2 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago where Audacity, the program I used to edit this, kept crashing, so I didn't edit it. Like, I just cut the theme song in and just left it. Did anyone notice, listeners? Did you notice that I left in all of the Googling and the awkward pauses? Like, because if that didn't bother you or you didn't even notice, then I'll just stop fucking bothering. I'm just curious. If anyone's like, this episode was strange. It seemed like there was a lot more Johnny clicking on his keyboard than usual.
Regardless of that, I think we're going to take a step back here from the subject matter that we were just discussing because
I was attempting to transition us out.
Oh, well, that's really good. I want to start very blatantly. While you're like, if we're standing in the party together and you're like, oh, really? Please tell me about this piece. It looks beautiful. I'm just like, I have to go.
Yeah. If this is the only noteworthy conversation we have, I'll have to work it into the title, and I do not want to have to explain that to anyone at Channel Oscar.
No, I think that's going to be another BT podcast number 72, or whatever it was.
Yep.
Nothing offensive about a horizontal DNA exchange or a horizontal gene transfer. Tisk.
There was one of the YouTube comments is like, unless you're a single-celled organism, then that's not going to work. And I was like, you don't know my life.
I'm really glad that people take it upon themselves to make sure that I'm properly educating the masses on the ins and outs of biological procedures. Because Lord knows, I would hate to have to take this seriously by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast. I'm glad that other people take it as seriously as I do. Super serious.
Johnny,
Oh.
did you want to... Are you drinking that Winston Churchill tea?
No.
No? There's a different tea?
There's two different teas. The Winston Churchill tea is the one that has whiskey in it.
Johnny. Do you normally do this sober?
Define sober.
Well, I was curious, because if you did one, like, stone cold sober, and then you did one, like, a little tipsy, and then you did one just, like, fucking sloppy drunk, I'd be interested in seeing how your humor changes.
No. I've never done a podcast sloppy. No, I haven't. But I will be honest with you. Most of the time when I sit down to do the podcast, I pour myself a drink.
I'm not gonna say I'm surprised.
I don't like pre-drink. This isn't like, I'm not like 21 where I'm like, dude, drinking at the podcast is so expensive. Let's drink before we go to the podcast. That's what all the cool kids do. But right now I have a very lovely glass of bourbon that I'm just sipping on, and it's not uncommon for me to do that. Actually, I went to a bourbon dinner last night. I went to a bourbon tasting last night, and they fed me such good food. It was delicious.
Are you a funny drunk?
You know what? I don't really believe that there's any such thing as a funny drunk. I know that there's such a thing as a sad drunk, like being maudlin when you get drunk. That's no fun at all.
There's sad drunk, angry drunk, and sometimes funny drunk, at least in my experience.
The problem is that to be a funny drunk, you have to be funny in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if it enhanced your qualities or dulled them.
No, I have a tendency to I get a little bit more loose in the tongue. One of the things that I catch myself doing on a day-to-day basis is very purposefully truncating my language, so that when I speak to people in a personal setting, like at work or just, through any day transaction, cashier, getting help at a store or something like that, I choose my words very deliberately. Because when I kind of go off the handle, I have a tendency to use words that people look at me askew for. So after I actually get a couple of drinks in me, not that many, I think it's about between 2 and 3 drink, I start to let that go a little bit, and my language gets a little bit florid and sort of goes off the deep end a bit.
Start dropping SAT words?
I wouldn't call them SAT words because I'm Canadian. We don't write no SATs here.
You don't have SATs? What do you guys do? Do you pick maple leaves and whoever has the biggest one gets in?
No.
How does college work?
At college, first you get sent up into the Northwest Territories, where you have to endure a long process of enduring the elements with very few supplies. It's kind of like Battle Royale in the sense that you get one item, but you don't know what it is until you actually show up in Yellowknife. And then, you open your sack and it's like, sometimes it's like, congratulations, you get a flamethrower. Other times it's like, congratulations, you get the complete LP discography of Barbara Streisand.
Oh, God.
After that point in time, you get turned out into the wilderness where you have to spend, I think they're up to a fortnight now. I think you have to spend a fortnight, and you are not allowed to be seen by any of the post-secondary institution staff that tracks you down. It's their duty sort of like weed out the weak ones. You have to stay camouflaged and hidden from them, but then at the end of the fortnight, you have to return. Usually, although it's kind of frowned upon these days because animal rights activists are getting a little up in arms about it, but traditionally speaking, they don't. It's a little more favorable if you come back with some kind of taxidermy trophy.
I like how much work you put into that. Like, it felt thought out.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's good. Do you want to introduce the first story?
Why don't we go ahead and introduce the first story? So, if you're like me, you are kind of getting weary as life gets on, and you're finding that fewer and fewer new things interest you in any kind of real possessive way. You're waking up every morning feeling that life has lost a little bit of its luster, and you have less and less exciting things to look forward to. Well, good news! That trend is continuing onwards, because Spike has announced their nominees for the 2013 Video Game X. I don't know how I don't know how else to pronounce it, because it doesn't make any sense. I know that they're like, oh, it's the 10th anniversary of the Spike Video Game Awards, but it's like, nobody cares, and they've decided to call it the VGX. So it's like, the Spike Video Game X. I mean, that's not even...
I thought it was an attempt to distance it, because they're like rebranding it as like, those VGAs that you hate? It's not that.
Yeah, but they've been trying to do that every year for the VGAs, and... It hasn't worked.
At least they recognize that there's a problem.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that they've done anything to solve it except change a single character in their name.
Well, we'll see. I gave them some credit last year. I thought their picks were much more cogent, much more understandable. Like, they gave The Walking Dead Game of the Year and stuff like that. They gave a couple other categories. I agreed with a lot of the stuff. I don't actually watch the show because it's just a commercial, but when it comes to actually recognizing artists and stuff, I do keep tabs on the nominees and the winners, and I feel they've made improvements there, if nothing else. I don't know about they're wheeling Patrick Harris out to do a dance or whatever.
Have you seen this year's list of nominees?
I have. Do you want to go down them and give our thoughts a little bit?
It is, before we get into it, I just want to say this is like, to draw upon one of those memes that the internet is so fond of, this is like obvious list is obvious. In fact, some of them have no rights being in there. Like, okay, we'll start at the top. Game of the Year. The nominees are BioShock Infinite, Grand Theft Auto 5, Super Mario 3D World, The Last of Us, and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I don't know how they got Tomb Raider in there.
It's in like fucking 4 categories. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. But years from now, when I think back on what an amazing year 2013 was for games, I'm not going to go, ho, and that was the year that Tomb Raider rebooted, and hot damn, did it redefine gaming for a decade!
I had fun with Tomb Raider. I gave it like a 7 maybe, but it doesn't belong in the same room as The Last of Us.
No, it doesn't.
It's not. Yeah, that's not even funny. Also, as Robert points out, Super Mario 3D World is not out yet. That's going to be a recurring theme. There's a number of games that are nominated that have not been released. Although I'm sure that the people who select these have played them. Like I know Yusuf's played Mario 3D World. I've played Tearaway. That's nominated and it's not out yet. That's going to come up again. But let's get that out of the way.
Next category, Studio of the Year, which I think is ridiculous because that's basically saying who made the best game this year. Because you're giving them the award for best game, and then they're like, okay, who made the best game this year?
Yeah, what if the studio that wins that category didn't win Game of the Year? That's like, we really liked your work, but we don't like you.
I mean, we've got Irrational Games, Naughty Dog, Rockstar North, and the Fulbright Company.
Yep.
If Irrational Games wins anything about being a studio, I'm going to jump off a cliff.
Considering the development cycle for that, yeah. I like the Fulbright Company, in case you don't know, are the people who made Gone Home, which is an exploration kind of indie game. I like that they got a nod.
They got a couple.
But I don't think anyone's going to touch Naughty Dog in that.
I don't know Fulbright from Adam, though. Do they hug? Are they huggers? If you go in, do they offer you tea? How good tea is it? Is it 1943 Morocco tea?
Yeah, I guess, because, I guess it's an attempt to kind of, like, you know how in the Oscars, right, they'll be like, Picture of the Year and Director of the Year.
Yeah,
and it's
but
like,
there's a reason.
I know, I'm about to say that your directing style can be divorced from the quality of the picture as a whole. At a studio, it's like, all you really have to judge is the project they made that year.
Yeah.
You know? It's not like, if this was like Game Director of the Year, and it's like, oh man, you can really tell that Austin Gaynor from the Fulbright Company like put his personal touch on it. You know, he's like a master craftsman. It's like, then we give him an award. But his studio is kind of synonymous with the product they made.
Especially considering that that's the only product that Fulbright has. I mean, I can understand that if you're like, it goes to Naughty Dog, because holy crap, Naughty Dog are our favorite people around. They've made games that we nothing but love. You know, like, if that was like fan favorite award, I'd be like, yeah, okay, but Studio of the Year? We're going to give it to Naughty Dog because this year they knocked it out of the park.
Which means you either have to give The Last of Us the Game of the Year award as well, or you risk some kind of strange cognitive dissonance there.
Or you flip a bunch of people off and be all like, fuck you, this is the Spike VGX!
Yeah, I suppose.
All right,
but,
next, are we gonna continue running down this list here?
I think we can just blow through the genre categories real quick.
All right, Best Shooter, Battlefield 4, Bioshock Infinite, Call of Duty Ghosts, Metro Last Light.
I played Ghosts and Battlefield, and they're not good. I liked Metro, so I would assume it's between Metro and Bioshock.
I guess. I would hope. I would hope so, but you know, like, I live in a world without hope, Austin.
I assume they're going to give it to Bioshock there. So.
Well, how do you feel about Best Action Adventure Game? Grand Theft Auto 5, Last of Us, Tomb Raider, or, of course, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Wasn't that game awesome? I know you loved it. I did, too.
Well, that's the thing. Is this the best action adventure in a video game? Because Grand Theft Auto 5's actual action is
subpar.
Limp. Yeah, but I would say it's a more impressive game than, say, Assassin's Creed, even if Assassin's Creed's action is better. You know what I'm saying? Is it the game as a whole, or it typifying this category? I don't know.
They're asking for the best action adventure game. They're not asking for the best action adventure in a game. Those would be two very different things.
I don't know. The categories are such a...
I'm sorry, the very fact that Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is on there demonstrates to me, again, why Spike fails.
You don't think it's an action-adventure game?
It's not that I don't think it's an action-adventure game. It's that, the very idea that something so late in the cycle can be like, yeah, surely this is one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, that's the thing I've noticed too. Almost all of the things that were nominated were like the last 2 months. It's like they have a really short-ass memory.
Yeah. Best sports game. All the sports games.
FIFA, MLB, NBA, or NHL.
Pick your favorite sport. That was the best game.
Yeah, I don't think anyone listening cares about that. How about best independent game, Johnny?
I was kind of surprised. I was kind of surprised that Kentucky Route Zero was on that.
It's pretty critically acclaimed. I don't know if it's how widely known it is, but the people who play it swear by it.
I love it. I think it's great. It's like the closest thing to an adventure game made by David Lynch ever.
Actually, I think this might be my most exciting category here. Gone Home, Papers, Please, The Stanley Parable, and Kentucky Route Zero. Like, all of those are fantastic.
If that was if we were watching a wrestling match on Spike instead, and it was watching these nominees all wrestle with each other, that would be the match that I'm tuning in for that one.
Actually, if you threw The Last of Us in there, that would be my nominees for Game of the Year.
Well, that's yeah, okay.
You're like, actually, no.
I was gonna be like, wait until we get to the best PC game category.
I can't wait for that disappointment.
Best RPG, Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. Because if not the first time, maybe the second. Fire Emblem Awakening, Austin, home team advantage. Of course, if he were here, Taylor Hoyt, my man, would stick up for Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Mm-hmm. And then Pokemon XY, because why? Because we like you.
This is interesting, because I could see arguments for all of these games, and I think it was actually a decidedly good year for RPGs, considering the last couple of years. Obviously, I would say Fire Emblem, but I fucking love Pokemon, and I know there's plenty of people who say the Final Fantasy, and it has the name recognition as well, so who knows how that one's going to go down.
Best fighting game. There are two of my favorite nominees are on this one, all right? So first we've got, not my favorite, but we've got Injustice, Gods Among Us, and Tekken Revolution. And then we've got Killer Instinct.
Not out yet.
Not the console it's on. Isn't even out yet.
Oh, I mean, even by the end of the year, only 6 characters will be available for it. You know what I'm saying?
But, obviously it's one of the best fighting games released this year.
Clearly.
Unfortunately, unless you've played Dive Kick.
Dive Kick.
How the fuck did Dive Kick get on that list?
I would love if Dive Kick won. I don't think it's going to, but that would be fantastic.
That would be, I think, the greatest moment for fighting games since Mortal Kombat discovered you could put blood in them.
I assume Injustice is going to win that. It has the budget over all of those other ones, but personally, I'm holding out for Dive Kick. That would be sweet.
Do you care about a best driving game?
I do, but let's just skip driving and DLC for the listeners' sake. I don't think they care. I mean, do you want to talk about, I just real quick on the DLC, Mass Effect Citadel is nominated, and that was the best part of that game. Also, Blood Dragon that's kind of a standalone thing, isn't it?
It is. It's not DLC at all. You don't need Far Cry 3 to play Blood Dragon.
Well, that feels like cheating.
It is cheating.
Well, there you go. That's also the oldest game on this list.
Okay, so there we go. Spike VGX. They can remember as far back as Far Cry 3.
Best Xbox game. Now here's where we get into where all these fuckers overlap, because none of these are exclusive. You couldn't fill a 360 category with exclusives anyway, but
no, but it'd be like that Lifetime Achievement Award that only one guy ever gets, where you're like, Lifetime Achievement Award goes to the oldest guy in the room, and then he gets up on stage and he pretends like he's really grateful. There was that one year, I remember, I think it was Harrison Ford won the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, and the first thing he says is, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Hollywood Foreign Press for awarding me this in a category in which all of the other competitors have died.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, just look at the best Xbox and best PlayStation category have significant overlap. They both have Tomb Raider, they both have Grand Theft Auto 5, and then they have, Xbox has BioShock and PlayStation has Rayman. Why those? Those aren't exclusive. Couldn't Rayman be in the Xbox and BioShock be in the PlayStation? What's the...
Obviously because of...
because of reasons.
Magic.
I don't think it matters because The Last of Us is nominated in PlayStation. It should win. And Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is nominated in the Xbox category, which I believe that's also available on PC. So
Yeah, it is.
so that's a clusterfuck there.
But then, of course, in Best Nintendo Game, Rayman Legends is as well. And The Wonderful 101, just in case you hate yourself.
Oh, I actually really like Pikmin 3, but considering Super Mario 3D World is nominated for Game of the Year, it would be strange if it didn't win its own category, right? Like, just mathematically speaking, it's transitive property of making fucking sense, right?
I don't know. Wouldn't it be great if we could play it and find out? Oh, yeah, we can't.
Well, Yusuf played it. You can read his preview, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, well, Yusuf can go to British hell.
Oh, man. So, best PC game. This is your home turf, Johnny.
I love this lineup. I love it. Battlefield 4.
Which is currently unplayable on PC, by the way. The servers went down.
Yeah, there was a distributed denial of service attack on them. So, hey, there you go. Battlefield 4. Gone Home, Papers, Please, and The Stanley Parable. So there we go. 3 of the 4 indie games that apparently the guys over at Spike played this year, they were like, I don't know, I guess they're the best PC games. That's,
So yeah, that's the same exact category as indie games, except for the one non-functioning game.
Yeah, the one non-functioning game that really hasn't broken any new ground since, I don't know, Battlefield 3 2 years ago.
There is one noticeably missing entrant from the PC category. I'm really surprised it's not there. Did you notice that?
Maybe.
StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm?
No, because I hate StarCraft.
I don't care. I don't like it either. My point is it came out this year, and it was very critically acclaimed, much more so than Battlefield 4, and it's PC exclusive.
Well, shouldn't it be in the best DLC category, though?
It's a pretty full expansion. If Blood Dragon isn't DLC, or is DLC, then I don't know what the rules of DLC are, though. So
obviously, I think that the term DLC has been stolen.
We gotta take it back.
Yeah.
Okay, best handheld game: Animal Crossing New Leaf, Pokemon X and Y, Tearaway, and The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Tearaway is another one that hasn't been released yet. I have actually finished it. My review will be up on Wednesday. So I actually don't think I'm legally allowed to say what I think of that. But as far as the other ones go, I actually could see Animal Crossing taking this.
Yep.
But, Zelda and Pokemon are huge marquee titles as well, so who knows, really.
Well, why isn't Animal Crossing in the best farming simulator game category?
If that was a category, it would be, Farmville, Farming Simulator, Harvest Moon, and Animal Crossing.
Agricultural Simulator, excuse me.
That's actually an interesting category, because, I could see it going a couple different ways, but I think Animal Crossing deserves it.
Do you think it's a casual game, though?
Yeah, what is the criteria? This is the next category. Best casual game: Animal Crossing, Disney Infinity, Plants vs. Zombies 2, and Skylanders. Like, what? When I think casual, I think, phone and browser. Like, New Leaf is a 3DS game, and Skylanders and Disney's on everything: 360, PS3, PC.
Yeah, I'm not sure I get what they were thinking of when they came up with those.
The word casual is really strangely used in this industry. I think they mean kids game.
Either that, or they mean games that you can get somebody else to play without necessarily making a face, because they're not that video gamey.
Perhaps. I don't like that category's wording either, but I once again, I'd probably give it to Animal Crossing.
Who do you want to win Best Voice Actor? Troy Baker as Joel, or Troy Baker as Booker DeWitt?
Or Troy Baker and any of the 1,000 other roles he had this year.
Or Troy Baker as Ellen Page as Jodie Holmes?
Yeah, the best male and female voice. They changed those categories. It's best voice actor and best voice actress. It used to be best performance by a human male and best performance by a human female, which are really creepy category names.
It does kind of sound like something that an evil overlord in an alien spaceship might say.
Yeah, like
Best performance by human male.
the VGAs are run by just soulless robots. Oh my goodness. But it's Troy Baker versus Troy Baker versus Trevor from Grand Theft Auto and Willem Dafoe from Beyond. I don't know. I could see this one going to Stephen Ogg as Trevor Phillips, because that's probably the most memorable and interesting part of Grand Theft Auto 5 was Trevor.
Are the VGXs still being determined by vote? Is that right? Like all the users go onto the website and vote?
I don't actually know how they pick the winner anymore. I know that the nominees are picked by like a panel of journalists, but
because it used to be voting, I remember that.
Yeah. Actually, let me look this up.
In the meantime, Best Voice Actress will be going to Ashley Johnson as Ellie from The Last of Us, Courtney Draper as Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite, Camilla Luddington as Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, or to Troy Baker as Ellen Page as Jodie Holmes in Beyond Two Souls. I gotta say, Troy Baker's turn as Ellen Page as Jodie Holmes, stunning.
You're an asshole. I'm on the Spike website right now, and I don't see a place where you can vote. I think this might just be... I can't find anywhere that says where you can vote, so I might not be voting this year. No, here we go. Oh, it looks like you can vote for most anticipated. No.
I find it funny that most anticipated doesn't include any of the games that they've nominated up above that haven't come out yet.
Yeah, you can. There's a place to vote. I found it. So it looks like it's going to be by whoever has the most fans.
Wait, for all of them then?
Yeah. There was a little scrolly thing I didn't see at first. Yeah. So
that's the noise I have to make in response to that.
But I also found the panel of people who picked the nominees. Do you want to know who's on that?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, Andy McNamara, editor-in-chief at Game Informer. I mean, I could just read the websites. No one probably knows who these people's names are, but it's like the main people from Game Informer, Yahoo, Polygon, Wired, Destructoid, Entertainment Weekly, Official Xbox Magazine, Spike TV, Giant Bomb, US Gamer, Penny Arcade, GameSpot, PC Gamer, Associated Press, Joystick, USA Today, Games Radar, and did I say Kotaku and IGN? Those as well.
I guess.
So it's basically all the big websites. They're top dudes.
They didn't ask me.
They did not. I don't know if I would even want to be involved with that. That feels a little embarrassing. But yeah, so as far as all these nominees we've been talking about goes, if there's going to be any dissonance or any strange picks, I guess we have to lay that blame at the fans' feet, because they're the ones who picked them.
You know what? I'm sorry, though. It's like, I know that they're trying real hard to, like, pretend that they're doing this because of legitimacy. You know? Like, because they have... last year, I remember there was some talk where they're like, yeah, because video games, we need to be taken seriously because... oh, come on, guys. But then you need to realize that there's a big difference between winning a Grammy and winning an MTV People's Choice Awards.
Yeah. Huh. There's always going to be a problem, because if you let a shadowy cabal of people behind the scenes pick the winners, then you could say there's some kind of, agenda.
But I love shadowy cabals.
There's some kind of bias. But then if you let the people choose, then it's, blunt force. Like, Justin Bieber would win every category if he was nominated. So.
Did they make a Justin Bieber game? They probably did.
Probably did.
Don't Google that. I don't want to see it.
My point is that, the size of your fandom is not equal to your quality as an artist. So, yeah, I mean, if 1,000 Naughty Dog fans go on there and put The Last of Us as the winner in every category, that might be the right choice, but it's not through any kind of special merit.
It's a philosophical quandary where you may come to the right conclusion, but through the wrong reasoning. A farmer sees something in his field. He's like, hey, that's my cow. What he sees in the field, though, is not his cow. He sees something else altogether, a tree or a bush, maybe a broken down tractor. However, his cow is in the field, out of sight. So the farmer is right. But is he right for the right reasons?
I'm going to ignore everything you just said and just ask, how would you do it? if you were in charge of this?
Me? Oh, secret societies all the way.
Okay, so you would just have Crescente and Dale North and everyone just vote behind the scenes?
No, I would, you'd probably have to have some kind of, the only thing that I can really think of that makes any sense to me is having a, not necessarily secret society, but a group of people where it's once you've worked in gaming journalism or game development for long enough or something like that, you get invited to join the coalition of game stuff.
Well, you say development. Do you think that would help if there's more of a presence of actual industry people? Because, I read the list to you. Everyone involved in picking the nominees is in the press sphere.
Yeah.
It's like Molyneux. Peter Molyneux is not picking these.
No, I think that absolutely developers need to be in on picking and nominating at least what they consider to be the best in the industry. There's more. They know more about games than any of us. Presumably because they love them. I imagine that there's a number of people out there that go into the video games industry not because they necessarily love games, but because they see work and dollar values and things like that. But even though I've spoken really ill of Randy Pitchford in the past, I know the guy loves games. I do. Yeah. I'm not going to debate that he loves games.
They put Randy Pitchford on the panel, and Aliens, Colonial Marines is nominated in every category.
Yeah, right. There's not a goddamn chance he would get away with that.
I can say that much for this list of nominees. Nothing that is outright shit is on here.
True.
Maybe if they nominated the Battlefield 4 campaign by itself, but zing.
Oh, Austin, you ragamuffin.
So we're almost done. Best soundtrack: BioShock Infinite, Grand Theft Auto 5, Ni no Kuni, and The Last of Us.
I don't even remember any of those except The Last of Us.
The Last of Us soundtrack is fucking gorgeous. I think it might lose to Grand Theft Auto 5, though, just because they could afford hundreds and hundreds of licensed songs. In fact, the next category is Best Song in a Game, and half of them are Grand Theft Auto 5. So I don't think that should count. Another one is Survival by Eminem from the Call of Duty Ghost soundtrack. It's that's a studio single, off his latest album that they paid for to put in the game. It's not written for it. I don't know. It feels shitty. Last year, I know Bastion soundtrack was nominated. It's Darren Korb wrote all that music for Bastion, and it's fucking beautiful. And now it's Eminem from the Marshall Mathers LP2.
Yeah.
Is I don't know. That feels cheap and wrong.
That's how they get around. They get around it in movies by asking for best original song.
True. I think you should probably have best original song, and maybe best soundtrack can count licensed music or something. But I'm not a big fan of that. Johnny, that I'm all about music and games. Absolutely,
Austin. You are the most audiophilic gamer that I know.
And yeah, I'm not sure how much competition there is there, but it's important to me, and these categories aren't doing it for me. Last one, Johnny. You ready?
Yep.
You strapped into your fun chair?
I'm ready to go.
Because this is going to be complicated.
Shoot me full of juice.
Most anticipated game: Ooh. South Park, Stick of Truth, Destiny, Watch Dogs, which was supposed to be out by now, Titanfall.
Ooh.
And some little game you probably never heard of called The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Don't recognize it.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to win.
No.
I think we both can say. Actually, I think we agree on this. The Witcher 3 is the most anticipated for us, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I got a soft spot for South Park. I'm waiting for the South Park game. Absolutely, but not because the game is going to be amazing.
I'm sure it'll be funny. It's just not in the same league as.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. And I mean, Destiny and Titanfall.
It'll probably be up to those because Destiny is from the makers of Halo and Titanfall from the makers of Call of Duty. So
yeah,
they have built-in fan bases ready to vote.
And don't get me wrong, Watch Dogs looks interesting as well. But I just know that there's going to be parts of Watch Dogs where you're like, wow, that was adrenaline filled. Now I have to
follow that guy for 10 blocks without getting seen, but
Yeah.
don't get too close.
Yeah.
If that mission type dies a painful screaming death, I'm not going to be sad.
No, me neither. I will be there at its grave, dancing a happy jig.
So those are the VGXs for the year. Is there anything missing? We went through them pretty comprehensively, but I don't know if there's anything you thought they left out.
No. I guess as the years go on, if I had my druthers, I'd try and dedicate some. Actually, I suppose, yeah. You know what? Like there's no MMO content in there except for Best RPG. Final Fantasy XIV is in there, and even though I got no taste for MMOs, I think they deserve some rep, as well as maybe Best Free to Play game.
Yeah, free to iOS as well.
Yeah, but I mean, you would hope that would maybe fit into Best Casual.
But who knows what that means in the context
nobody,
of the show.
Nobody knows. Casual, it doesn't, I don't even understand. I think I'd also maybe like to see an award based around crowdfunding.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think there's a couple of really good crowdfunded games that came out this year. FTL came out this year.
FTL was a pretty good one. Shadowrun Returns was crowdfunded as well.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm sure there are many more, but those are the ones that are just jumping out at me right away. Excuse me.
Personally, I was flabbergasted that neither Dragon's Crown or Puppeteer made the best PlayStation category, considering those are very well received exclusives. But of course, Rayman Legends represents the brand so much better, apparently.
Yes, and we can't forget Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider, yeah. What else? Oh, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance came out this year, and the fact that it's not in the soundtrack category is laughable, because that is way better than anything else that's nominated there besides The Last of Us.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, oh great, something else I don't have to care about.
Yeah.
I don't at this point in time they're obviously not doing enough to turn around my opinion of them.
It seems like a step down from last year when I felt they were kind of moving things in the right direction. But, I don't know.
Well, we'll see how much Christopher Walken is in the actual, award ceremony itself.
I could care less about the actual show. I just want to know who wins, I guess. Is that shallow, that I really care about the end result and not the pageantry?
Yeah, but
okay.
I don't think, what's the word I'm looking for? Admonishingly shallow. I really don't think you deserve to be scolded for that kind of shallowness.
I don't know. I guess we run the risk of expending too much brain energy on this entire topic.
Ask yourself this question: would it be more shallow if you were so prepossessed with the pageantry, and particularly for the VGXs? If you were like, oh man, I don't care who wins, I just can't wait for the show.
Well, there's usually a couple of cool trailers, but I'll just catch them when the companies send me the press releases, like 10 minutes after the thing's aired. I don't know. Yeah.
Shall we move on?
I suppose. We both are really negative on the subject, but it bears examination, if only for constructive criticism.
I wasn't really being that constructive.
Johnny.
It's okay though. It's okay. I'm all right with being the grump. I will be the grouch. Everybody would like, oh, that Johnny guy is grouchy. And I'll go, no, I'm not.
Johnny?
Yeah.
So the second story for today kind of touches on something we talked about earlier, but in a more positive way.
That's true.
That's the part where you explain it.
I'm sorry. You were leading, and I was swept up in the confidence that you were exuding through your seizure of the topic.
We talked about earlier how some of the PlayStation 4s were failing, and that was sad. But on a happier note, a lot of them were sold.
Yeah.
And a whole lot, actually.
Some of them may be breaking, but you sure did give Sony your money.
I guess I'll just do it.
Well, it's not a big deal. I mean, how do you feel about 1 million?
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
You need some context, because the PlayStation 4 sold 1 million units to consumers on day one, and without knowing how much other consoles sells, you're not sure, is that good, is that bad? It's a lot for hardware. It's like more than double to what the Wii U sold. It's like 6 times what the PS3 sold.
I can scarcely imagine what a million PS4s look like, or what the amount of money to pay for a million PS4s looks like if it were all. I'm gonna go with $20 bills.
And we should emphasize this isn't stock sent to retailers. This is taken home, put in the living room, like sold through, which is a lot of times publishers will say, oh, we sold this many units, and then in parentheses to retailers, to kind of make it look like they did better than they did. This is pure like profit we're talking about. They sold a lot more than that.
There's over 1 million people in Canada and the United States who have PS4s sitting in their living room with no games in it.
Well, they got a free month of PlayStation Plus, so they can play Resogun and Contrast.
Woo!
But yeah, it's really good. It's a big success. Do you think this is maybe people were so starved for the next console generation? I know the Wii U technically is the first home console of the generation, but
no, everybody's caught on to what Nintendo's doing. They're making last generation consoles this generation with a thing that we've never seen before on it. So if you really like that thing, go for it.
True, but I'm saying to you, is this what led to this, really? Is it that people were so down on the Xbone it made the PlayStation 4 look better by comparison? Is it just like people were just anxious to get their hands on any next-gen tech? Would they have bought the one in such quantities if they could come out first?
Well, Austin, I think I'm going to have to put on my sensible underpants and say that it's definitely got to be a mixture of a couple of things. I think one, I have the optimism that it's people frustrated with Microsoft. I do. Because even though I think that when the Microsoft ink spout extravaganza finally comes to market, we're going to see some impressive sales figures. I don't think in the, I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, it might come out looking really good on paper, the ink spout extravaganza. It might look like it's sold like lots and lots and lots of units. But in the end, you've got to say because companies do this all the time. They divide it up into demographics. Congratulations, we won the 18 to 24 demographic. And, you gotta say, people that are enthralled with games, game enthusiasts, game thralls, if you will, I'm thinking that they're gonna be PS4 people.
Hmm.
This is indicative to me. Like, these are people who were so stoked that, they pre-ordered fucking I don't know how many months ago. They were like, I want one.
Yeah, we might need to wait until the Xbox One hits, and then we see those figures side by side. But I think right now we can say, even if the Xbone does sell better, it's not like the PlayStation 4 is in any kind of trouble. Like, this is a solid start no matter what happens. Both consoles need better games. I mean, the Wii U needs better games too. Everyone does.
Everybody needs better games. Especially me. Bring me better games.
Yeah, just across the board there. But as far as just purely hardware goes, I think this is a good sign all around, and I hope, ideally, the Xbox One would sell just as much, and everyone would be successful. And
I don't know about ideally. I just don't want anybody to lose any jobs. But I really, really, really want the Xbox One to kind of lose its erection.
It's difficult. I don't want anyone to fail because, like you said, people will lose their jobs, and there will be less competition and less, market incentive.
I don't know how else you get certain lessons across. And this is the frustrating thing about it, is that I realize every single time when I say you're voting with your dollar, when a company decides that they have a policy or they come up with something that you don't agree with, the only way that you can influence whether or not they get away with that is through your buying power. You can't buy it and then tell them you were really upset that you had to buy it. Because you didn't have to buy it. They got your money and they're laughing all the way to the bank with it. But
the fact that they 180'd on their policies, if it does well then they'll have known they made the right choice. And if they try it again, and there's an equivalent backlash and canceling of pre-orders and PR trends, I feel like those patterns should be evident.
You would hope so, Austin, but just this week, the Microsoft Store opened up at Metrotown, which is a location in Vancouver, thereabouts where I live. And, the Microsoft Store. The Microsoft Store. If you really need a copy of Windows 8, go to the Microsoft Store.
Well, Johnny, I mean, Apple has dedicated stores, so Microsoft needs them. Obviously, their business models are exactly the same. Their customers have the exact same needs, Johnny.
Austin, you're making me feel ill.
I really hope that sarcasm came across.
No, absolutely. But and this is part of the problem, is that I feel that the Xbox One is a product of Microsoft focusing in a number of areas that they should have kept their fucking nose clean out of. Honestly, I really, really do. You know, like, yeah, what was the comment that you made last week? I think it was one of the guys at GameStop or something like that, saying that the Xbox One was the best Apple TV he's ever played with.
Actually, you know what I just thought of, because we're talking about the Xbox One and Apple and stuff. I don't know, this wasn't really publicized, but you know the launch game Crimson Dragon?
Yeah, I know of it by reputation.
It's like the reboot of Panzer Dragoon or what have you. It has microtransactions. You have to pay for that game.
You buy it though.
Yeah, you do. And if you don't buy the power ups and the whatever, apparently it's fucking impossible.
See that?
So yeah, I've been reading about that. Some of that stuff came out just this morning. Is that the Xbox One games? I mean, Killer Instinct is free to play, buy to get new characters. This home console is it's not the home console you're used to, guys. It's a really expensive phone TV thing
that you can't take anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Dead Rising 3, you're walking around, there's zombies, you pull out your smart glass and you drop a tactical missile strike. You've seen that shit, right?
No.
Oh my god, yeah, Dead Rising 3, there's like a phone app or something. And if you connect it to the game, you can like shoot missiles at zombies. I mean, it's as part of the game.
Seriously.
I swear to God.
Do you feel that this is getting a little out of hand?
I can see the business meeting where these decisions were made, where someone's going to pay $500 for a system and $60 for a game. How much more can we get? Let's sell them items. Let's sell them power-ups and mounts and all kinds of shit. Like, why not? What's the downside to that from a business perspective?
Nobody takes you seriously and you lose a fuck ton of money?
You can't graph that. There's no tangible way to chart consumer confidence in the short term.
No.
That means anything to business people.
One day you just wake up and all you've got on is a pair of underwear and you're in a cardboard box that says Microsoft on the side and you're like, how did it come to this? Or is that just the dream that I keep having?
I don't think Microsoft's going anywhere anytime soon.
No, but I'm not suggesting that they are. They're moving in a direction that I am. Because the thing is that for like so many years, everybody's had like a huge hate on for Microsoft. You couldn't 5 years ago you couldn't wander around the internet without somebody spelling Microsoft with a $ because of the wit. And I'll be honest with you, I was perfectly cool with them. I quite liked them. I liked the products that they made, like Windows XP, big fan. Windows Vista, I was like, you tried. It didn't work, but you tried. Windows 7, I love it. I think it's great. Windows 8, it can go to hell. I own a Zune.
You and I are communicating. I assume you're using Windows 7. I am.
Yeah, I'm using Windows 7. It's great.
So am I.
I love it, and I do, but I'm serious. I have a Zune. I love the thing. It's a fucking rock. I've had it since 2007 or something like that, and it can still hold like a 9-hour charge.
Nice.
It's great. It's a great little piece of hardware. But I don't know, the past 4 years or so, 3 or 4 years or something like that, they have just started abusing every single piece of goodwill that I have for them.
We're at an interesting point where it's we're so full up on things to be angry about, it's hard to even process new ones. It's we got over the always online thing, and then there was the Kinect thing, and then there was this and that, and now it's people aren't even like ready to be mad about this microtransaction thing. Like I have like an outrage fatigue about it.
Yeah. You just, like, at this point in time, I just feel like a disappointed parent.
Microsoft. What are we gonna do with you?
Where
I said
did we go wrong, Austin? Maybe it's all those video games they play.
Can we afford military school?
For Microsoft? I don't know about that. That seems a little expensive.
I guess it's the belt again.
I guess so.
Yeah. Oh man, it always comes back to this. I just wanted to talk about how well the PS4 was selling, and here we are bitching about the fucking Xbone again.
Well, it's the sad thing about it is that it's their fates are intertwined at this point in time. They really are. More intertwined, I feel, than any other console generation has been in the past. Like, they bit at each other's ankles, they nipped at each other's heels leading up to the release of these systems so hard. You know, it wasn't just kind of like they didn't leave each other room or anything like that. They were purposely invading each other's space in press releases, in system rules, in regulations, in like technological implementations. Like, Sony went so far as to like film satirical videos about like how to lend your friends games with the PS4.
Yep.
You know, and like Microsoft has scrambled so hard to fight back. Their fates are inexorably intertwined. They are. And we're not going to know anything about the future of video game consoles until we start getting figures for the Xbox.
Yeah, I guess we'll put off the second half of that conversation until next week.
But I agree with you. Like, 1 million, I'm happy for you, Sony. Like, your cheaper price, your policies, they're paying off. Like, that's a payoff right there. Yeah.
I mean, we already mentioned the hardware failure and the scarce launch library, but, patches are coming. There's going to be hardware revisions. There'll be more games. So
and
those are temporary issues.
And it still smells like Cordite and Ladyparts, so... That's...
Where do you get your electronics fucking assembled, dude?
Me? I don't know. I think they make guns.
That might be the episode title, Cordite and Ladyparts. Okay.
Yeah, there's some of those Canadian electronic manufacturers where they sell ammo and strip club and strippers at the same, like you're like
sell strippers.
No, they don't sell strippers, but it's like,
that's what you said.
I need this computer, and then they're like, sure, would you like ammo with that? I'd be like, absolutely. They'll be like, okay, it'll take us a little while to put your computer together. Why don't you have a seat here and get a lap dance? Canada's great, unless you want to go to university.
Callback joke.
So.
Yes, Johnny.
That seems like the news.
Yeah.
I guess we could talk about games that we have played.
If you want.
I do. Do you want to start, or? I never remember who went first last week. It's always a blur. I'm like, what?
I'm thinking of a number between 1 and purple.
Fish.
You got it. Go first.
Awesome. Well, this week, I'm still kind of waiting for Deadly Premonition to clean up.
Yep.
It's still kind of, like we haven't seen any real patches for it. So I'm kind of like, but if I probably don't see anything by the end of the month, I'm probably just going to like grit my teeth and restart my computer every time I need to drive around town. But in the meantime, I did get to play a couple of other things this week. I got to play some of that there BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea, because that came out, didn't it?
Yep.
That was a thing.
Yusuf reviewed that, and he thought, much like the main campaign, it could have done with a lot less combat and a lot more of all the things that Irrational was actually good at, like atmosphere, characters, story, ideas.
Yeah, like I find it kind of shocking playing through. It did specifically occur to me playing Burial at Sea because, when BioShock was first announced, Ken Levine was really big on like, yeah, it's a spiritual successor to System Shock, and I was like, I fucking loved System Shock. It was awesome. And then when I played BioShock, the first one, I was like, I can see the System Shock in this. But then playing through BioShock Infinite, I didn't make any. There was no correlation there for some reason when I played through the main campaign. But going to Burial at Sea, because it took place very specifically in Rapture, I think I made that leap. And its distance from System Shock, like System Shock 2, seemed like a chasm. Like it was an abyss of distance. And I was like, wow, how did we get here?
I'll tell you exactly how you got there, and it's because modern AAA studios don't think that rightly or not, they don't think that the average mainstream public people can handle any kind of complex RPG systems, and so it's just a shooting gallery because that's all they think our tiny brains can handle.
But that's ridiculous because there are plenty of games that have at least decent role-playing systems in them that do perfectly well.
Yeah, but shut up.
You have a good point.
The people who hold the money look around the industry and they say, what's popular? What makes money? Call of Duty? Do that. And Ken Levine's like, I will do my best to make my game good and also that. I will bolt my actual skills and talents onto the thing that makes money.
Yeah, but like 2K games, I don't know. They've taken some chances before, but
yeah, I give them credit. I mean, they resurrected XCOM like legitimately. They've actually made great strides in their basketball sim. I know you don't give a fuck about that, but they have. So the fact that BioShock went as far over fucking budget as it did is I'm glad they didn't pull the plug, which a lot of other publishers might have somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I don't think they were confident that if it was like System Shock 2, it would have sold enough to justify production.
You may be right there. You may be right. The thing is that I don't necessarily want System Shock 2 playing a BioShock game. I'd love a System Shock 3. Like, don't get me wrong. My salivary glands would go into overdrive. Because I would need to cover it in spit somehow. We're not gonna walk down that road. We're going over here, back to talking about BioShock Infinite. But when I played Burial at Sea, it was just that the gulf between those titles became so very obvious to me. And yeah, it was kind of like, I liked what they did with the plot. Like, I liked the little... I mean, no spoilers here because it arguably ties into the actual campaign of BioShock Infinite. I think we need to see where the conclusion is going to go when we get the second episode sometime in 2015.
It's worth noting that the BioShock Infinite Season Pass was like arena bullshit, and then one episode of actual good stuff they had to split in two.
Yeah, so that's a little disappointing. But I like the way that they kind of wrote it in. I guess I sort of feel reminded of Alan Wake, American Nightmare in a lot of ways, which felt so very different from the original game. But just through some writing trickery, they did a really great job of tying it in. It was short, and I guess DLC whatever. But considering how long it had been in development, they had like the whole studio dedicated to it. I was expecting a little more, I guess.
Yeah, actually, they responded to that. People were mad that it was so short, and they said it was supposed to be quality over quantity. And I think, not that that's not legitimate. I think the bigger issue here is they realized it's really expensive to make good games. So that's why it's in two parts.
Yeah.
and so short.
That's a bad bait, though. When you say, ooh, quality over quantity. That's like, you're digging a hole for yourself. Right, right there.
As long as you can deliver. If you come up a little short on one end of that teeter-totter,
So do you think they were like, uh-oh, I guess we better rewrite part 2?
I'd be interested if any of the reception did played into the second half. I assume it's too far along to make significant changes, but maybe they add a little bit of padding in there. Have a couple more enemies spawn in areas where they wouldn't have. Who knows?
We'll see. So yeah, I got to play Burial at Sea. We'll see. I unfortunately, I have to reserve final judgment before for when the final part comes out, because I feel as though it deserves to be taken as a whole. I think that Irrational Games at least deserves that. So we'll see what I have to say when I get a chance to play its thrilling conclusion. And then this week, I also, of course, am continuing to slog through Arkham Origins. It's beginning to wear on me a little bit.
I like slog as word choice there.
Well,
that was precise diction.
Yeah, it really kind of is beginning to wear on me. I got to what I thought was going to be a climax for the game, and then it was like, oh yeah, by the way, business as usual. And there was a scene where Batman yells at Alfred. I'm like, what a dick!
You shut your mouth, Bruce.
Yeah, you don't yell at Alfred, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You, plastic-wearing, anthropomorphized animal psychopath, you go running around in the middle of the night, beating the crap out of people, and the one guy in your life who cares enough to let you do it, you're all like, brr, I'm Batman, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, fuck you, Bruce Wayne, you spoiled son of a bitch. Nobody yells at Alfred. Nobody.
That's the kind of progressive arc I hear from everyone who's played Origins. Like, yeah, it's like City, more of that. That's good. It's a little glitchy. It's a little I'm bored now.
Yeah. And again, like I said this the first time that I came on the podcast and talked about it, that I understand how the design guys got together in a room and they got really super stoked, and it might have looked great on paper. But once you actually get confronted with it all, it's like, if you Austin, do you have a passing knowledge of Star Trek?
I want to go with no. I've seen the J.J. Abrams movies.
All right. Well, if I was to say food replicator, would you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, context clues make that pretty clear.
Yeah, it's this machine that became particularly famous in Star Trek: The Next Generation for making tea, Earl Grey, hot. Now, presumably, you can the food replicator can make anything,
Mm-hmm.
But fat people in Star Trek, pretty slim on the ground.
Yeah, miracles of medical science, I suppose.
Well, maybe. I just not a lot of binge eating in the show either, though, right? So it's sort of just because you have access to all the food in the world, that doesn't mean that you'll be walk up to your food replicator and be like, okay, food replicator. Here's
10,000 pounds of pudding.
Here's what I need. I need fried chicken. I need steak. I need 5 milkshakes in a variety of different flavors. That. Just because you have all those things, it's was that a good meal?
I'm sure a million people have pointed this out, but no one man should have all that power.
Well, I'm not. No, I mean, I'm not going after Star Trek because if I got my hands on a food replicator, I'd probably do that one night. The first night I got it, I'd be like, okay, here's what we're doing. Lobster thermidor, and then we're doing fried chicken, we're going to have hamburgers, then after that, we're going to have, caviar canapes, and then I'm going to want toast, because toast is a good break. And then after the toast, I'm probably going to have lasagna, but not just any kind of lasagna, 6-cheese lasagna. But then the next day you'd be like, why?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, is that it's when they sat down and made Arkham Origins, they were they wanted that 6-cheese lasagna without thinking for a second that maybe lasagna was good enough. If you made it with care and very specific ingredients. You can't just stuff 6 cheeses in there and expect people to not walk away from it feeling kind of disgusting. Arkham Origins. It's the 6-cheese lasagna of Batman games.
We actually talked about this with The Last of Us, and that one of its greatest strengths is its restraint.
Yes.
There is something kind of transcendent about just using the minimum, like, to get by and tell your story and do your thing. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing, I think, definitely in game design. I don't think
you can oversaturate. You can oversaturate and overstimulate people, and then it just becomes noisy, and it's like you're confronted with all these pointless things that you can do, and it's just sort of like none of them in themselves are rewarding. So it's about, like, it becomes filtering out noise to, like, try and find the thing about the game that you really, really like, only to discover maybe you actually really don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of restraint would have been nice to see from Arkham Origins. We'll see. I'm still gonna finish it. You know, like I still enjoy the gameplay, but it fucked up the pacing. It really fucked up the pacing. Like,
I don't think you're stepping too far outside the common consensus there on Origins.
No, I don't think I am either. The last game I played this week, one for all of probably two of you who are fans of the series. I played X Rebirth.
Ah, that's the space game?
Space!
Yes, that one.
Yeah. So the X games have been plodding along for a number of years now, kind of like, you know, trying to pick up the torch from where games like Wing Commander Privateer left it, where they the best way I can try and explain the X games up to this point in time are like joystick driven, so like control driven EVE Online, but with no multiplayer, which I know sounds stunning.
EVE Offline?
Yeah, EVE Offline. Yeah, that would be a pretty easy way to explain it. And part of the problem that they've had as the series up to now was that they have largely left people behind. Insofar as that, like, each game is suitably larger and bigger and bigger and bigger and gives more stuff and more things that you can do and, like, larger universes. And they haven't done a particularly good job of bringing people into the fold. So, like, if you're just, you know, fucking around Steam one day and you're all like, you know what, it's been a while since I played a space game. My joystick's getting dusty. And then you're like, I'm going to play X3, Terran Conflict. You have made a very poor decision. Because oh man. It's difficult for them to bring people into the fold. They're not good at it. They haven't been good at it for some time. And the thing about X Rebirth, this new one that just released on Friday, I think it was, is that they went about trying to make this game saying that they wanted to have a good, thorough, complex space sim economy simulator that wasn't necessarily complicated. Because we've touched on the past that you and I both agree that the terms complicated and complex, while suggestive of the same thing, don't necessarily mean the same thing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so they went ahead and tried to make this game complex without it being complicated. And I played it for a few hours. I played it for several hours. And I have to say, for the most part, they've succeeded at that. It is certainly the most accessible X game that I've played so far. And I picked up the series in X2. So I've had a few of them, because there was X2 and then there was X3. Okay, now what was it? All right, there was X2 and then X3 Reunion and then X3 Terran Conflict and then X3 Albion Prelude and then X Rebirth. So there were a few X3s there.
They pulled an Assassin's Creed.
They pulled an Assassin's Creed. And I've never had an easier time getting into the game than I have with X Rebirth. Their tutorials are pretty clear for the most part. You know, like the X games have a tendency of just kind of like dropping you into the shit and then just being like, go! And then, you know, like if you're not feeling exploratory enough and you just kind of like follow the campaign, you'll suddenly hit a brick wall where it's like, hey, look, 90 ships. You'll have no problem with dealing these. You've been doing your own side quest missions, right? No? Oh, you're fucked. But it's done a good job of kind of like leading through and introducing some of the new systems because they've totally rehashed everything. There are no jump gates anymore, practically. It's these like huge mega highways that you just fly into, and it flies you super fucking fast, you know, from place to place. So it has this feeling of being an interconnected universe better. And you can kind of like manage everything from this like one ship that you're on, like what ship you want to pick up cargo, where, how much you want them to get, if you want them to follow you, if you want them to stay there. You know, like they've done a really good job of this, like having this hub. But oh my god, have they fucked up almost everything else.
Interesting.
And it's like, all right, so Austin, let's say that you're particularly fond of a niche type of game. All right, that you know.
Oh, that's a difficult situation to imagine.
Just imagine it. Just like imagine that there's a particular game that you've been a fan of, or a genre that you've been a fan of for years, and it's not necessarily the most popular genre, but they keep making these games, so you're sort of like, hey, they must be earning a living, they must love their business, and then this one day they're like, hey. We've got this new game. We think we're doing a good job of bringing everybody else into the fold. So what do you think? And you grab this game, and it's like you turn it on, and it goes, hey, in order to properly play this, you need a kumquat. And you're like, what? You've got your Xbox controller or your PlayStation controller in your hand, and it's like, no, you need to plug a kumquat.
Plug a kumquat
into your console. And I mean, that would be great if you had easy access to a kumquat, and it's like maybe
stop saying kumquat.
Maybe you do. Maybe you have ready access to all the kumquats in the world. But you're like, I don't want to play this game with a kumquat. I want to play it.
Stop saying kumquat.
I will not, sir. It is the fruit I have decided that will fill this analogy.
Okay.
But you're like, I don't even want to play this with a kumquat. Why can't I play this with my Xbox controller? In the first place, that is almost completely what X Rebirth has done. I have a Cytec X52 Pro flight stick. It's got it's two units that plug into each other in the computer. One's got a joystick and 2 point of view hats, and then the other's a throttle. There's 30 majillion buttons on this thing, it's a great joystick. And of course, X Rebirth, I'm like hardcore space sim, better plug my fucking joystick in, and it's like, hey, where's your Xbox controller? And I'm like, what? I've got it here, but did I buy the wrong game? And it literally, the controls in its control section are like, do you want to do this? Yeah, turn the left thumbstick. Do you want to do this? Turn the right thumbstick. And it's its automatic controls have auto roll, so that your ship always levels out to a certain X plane. And I'm just like, where did my space game go?
Huh. Is it so you think they just designed it from the ground up for console people to make it more accessible and just didn't give it the option at all?
Well, no, because it hasn't been released on consoles. And the developers have actually, out and out, pretty much fully apologized for the joystick support. They're like, yeah, our joystick support's really fucked up. And I'm like, for a flight sim game, you think you might have worked that out a little earlier. So it's just like, okay, fine. So I had to go through, jump through an extra couple of hoops just to, get everything working properly. with the flight stick, but that in turn completely fucked up the first-person sections of the game. Because, yeah, you can, like, get up from your flight chair and, like, walk around on stations and talk to people and hire them and things like that. And it's like, because of the way that the controls are set up now, whenever my character goes to, like, walk onto stations, he immediately stares at the sky and spins around in circles. And it's like, the game won't let me delete controls that think I'm playing with a twin-stick Xbox controller. Whenever I'm like, it's like, what do you want to use as the throttle? And I move the throttle, and it's like, oh, you want to use the left thumbstick. I'm like, no, I want to use the throttle.
Do you think is all of this patchable, or is it just...
Of course it's all patchable. It's like, right from the base up, they've basically decided to recognize joysticks as thumbstick controllers. I can't even begin to describe how wrong that is. Imagine yourself playing Call of Duty Ghosts, except instead of an Xbox controller, you have a joystick in one hand and a throttle in the other. So if you want to turn left, you pull back on the throttle, and if you want to turn right, you push forward.
Yeah, that's fucked. It's pretty bad timing, because we've been expounding the virtues of the PC Master Race the last couple of episodes with all the console war stuff going on. And then you went Deadly Premonition and this, and just taking chunks out of your argument, dude.
I know, and I absolutely recognize that. No, I completely do. I absolutely, utterly do. The only thing that I can say, in defense of Deadly Premonition is that it was a green light game. It's obvious that they weren't ready for it, that they didn't know what they were doing. But X Rebirth, this is like their 5th PC game. They should fucking know better by now. Who the fuck has been buying and playing their games before this, if not people like me that do things like plug fucking joysticks into computers and like to use their 38 bajillion fucking buttons on the $150 joystick setup they bought just so they can enjoy games like this? As if that wasn't bad enough either, the game is buggy as shit. The other day, a freighter disappeared on me, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, except that it was my freighter. And it had all of the cargo in it that I was trying to sell to someone for a fucking campaign mission. It was just there 1 minute, and then, poof, gone. And I was like, okay, maybe it's like, gone somewhere, or... Because I had just told it to do something. I was like, go sell your shit to these people. And it's like, okay, I will. And then I'm like, okay, now I wait. And I just, flipped my cockpit around to look at it, coming to where I should be, and it was gone.
It sounds like I told you...
There 1 second, gone the next. It was like David Blaine made my fucking spaceship vanish.
I told you the story of my first time playing the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because there's that one NPC you have to escort from one area to the other, really early in the game.
Yeah,
and I just
you were like, see you, sucker.
I just left him in a field somewhere, and he was just gone when I turned around. I looked for hours. That's just what that reminded me of. It's like, well, that mission-critical thing is just gone now.
Yeah, so it's like... It is, and I had some performance problems with it as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a huge fucking memory leak in it, because there is no goddamn reason why my computer should be having performance problems with it.
How many Titans do you require?
Yeah, honestly. But yeah, so there's all these, apparently the CEO basically was like, oh yeah, I'm really sorry. And I'm just like, dude, my joystick doesn't work. Your game is bugged to fuck. My ship is gone, and, yeah, you can't figure out mouse look in first person sections. What kind of games have you been playing?
Johnny, no one ever figured out how to do first person on PC. It's just never been done.
So yeah, I'm not. I can't say I'm that thrilled with it. And I mean, it's at the same time, I can't say I'm that surprised either, because the X games have always been a little bit a little bit buggy because they're pretty big and there's a lot of things to do in them. You know, like the more functions that you have in a game, the more complicated your gaming environment is, the more likely it is that problems are going to be catastrophic, because the more the systems interrely on one another, as soon as one problem happens, the whole thing just like comes crashing down on you. But you know what? Like there's a list. There's a fucking list that like the CEO has said, which is like, yeah, okay, so we know this about the game. Don't worry, we're fixing it. And I'm just like, really, dude?
They had to get it to market before Star Citizen hit, man.
Yeah, because Lord knows that's coming out tomorrow.
Well, see, the crater that game is going to leave is going to be so powerful. The blast is going to go both forward and backwards through time.
It's going to erase a number of spaceflight games from the past. They won't exist anymore.
Exactly.
But I you know, like at the same time, I'm pretty pleased because as I said, it's obviously the most accessible X game that they've made so far. It just needs some cleanup. And you know, I can wait, but that doesn't mean I'm happy about it. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. This is, you know, it's been a while. It's been a little while since we've seen the ugly underside of PC gaming, and this is certainly it. Certainly it. Although, to tell you the truth, you know, console games are not really that ahead of the curve at this point in time. What with patches that like erase save games and who knows? It's the whole industry just in general. I weep. I weep for its quality assurance at the moment.
Well, we've actually been talking about this before, that consoles are becoming more and more like PCs in many ways, and that is definitely one of the ways, is that you can kind of fudge QA and
fix it. We'll fix it in post.
Whoa, do it live.
Do it live. Fuck it, do it live.
Basically, yeah, that's a conversation for another day as far as that's concerned, but definitely a concern.
Yeah, I don't think that the industry, that gamer enthusiasts all around the world are wailing and gnashing their teeth right now because they can play X Rebirth with an Xbox 360 controller instead of a Cytec X52 Pro flight stick set.
Were you playing with the buttons on that while you were talking?
No.
I heard a noise. That was either you messing with your flight stick or you loading a gun.
Can it
or
be
both?
Can it be both?
Yeah. Oh my.
Don't worry, my pretty. I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna find them, and they're gonna pay. Sorry, Austin. I was just stroking my joystick and cocking my gun.
That's also perfectly good episode titles.
Yeah, stroking my joystick and cocking my gun.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, hopefully I'll have better things to say about X Rebirth next week. But in the meantime, Austin, why don't you tell me what crazy cool things you've been doing?
As I mentioned earlier, I played Tearaway for review.
Yeah, but nobody wants to hear you talk about that because you can't talk about that.
Fine, be that way.
I want to hear you talk about it, but you're not allowed to, and I don't want to tempt you because I know that sometimes you can't control yourself when I'm around.
I know. So yeah, my review for that game will be up on Wednesday. So that's what's happening there. Can't say anything else, but you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Tearaway, PS Vita. I also played. I played a game that this actually ties into like a news story from a couple of weeks back. We didn't really touch on that story. It's kind of... Let me back up. Do you remember a couple weeks ago, Johnny, when Ubisoft said they're not making any games that can't be turned into franchises?
Oh, yeah, that was ages ago.
It was a while ago, and we were talking about that statement, and you said, it's fine, because those games will still get made, just not by Ubisoft.
Yep.
And then, a couple weeks later, they announced Child of Light, which is like a JRPG, essentially. It's a small, like, downloadable... It's not indie, because obviously it's a major publisher, but it's that, like, price range, budget area that, you know, the indies occupy.
Well, we can remember as well, because we spoke a little bit about Far Cry Blood Feud Dragon Face.
Blood Feud Dragon Face.
Blood Feud Dragon Face. Earlier in the episode. And that was, like Blood Dragon got released, it was a standalone game, we know that. And it was like, what, $20?
I think it came out at 15 or 20, yeah.
And after that, Ubisoft did say, hey, you can expect to see more of these middle-price games like Blood Dragon, because apparently it did quite well. And I was happy about that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if Ubisoft wants to make another Blood Dragon, be like, yeah, it's a franchise, but, Blood Dragon 2, the Blood Dragoning, which I'm assuming is what it's going to be called, and they want to sell that for $15 or $20, I'm cool with that. That's great.
True, but Blood Dragon, of course, is part of the Far Cry franchise, and then Gunslinger was part of Call of Juarez, so that's still in line with their franchising line.
True,
their corporate ideology.
Do you feel, though, that Children of Light will beget Children of Light 2? Children of Lightning?
I'm not entirely sure, but the story that came out of that, because that seemed to contradict what they said, because it's a new franchise that doesn't seem to have any obvious sequel potential as far as we know, and it's not part of their big blockbuster push or anything. And there was an interview that came out with the guy who made it, who said that it was really hard to get it greenlit, specifically because the people in the room he pitched it to didn't, quote unquote, want to repeat the mistake of Beyond Good and Evil. That quote got some people mad because Ubisoft essentially calling one of their most beloved games a mistake, and that it was single-handedly responsible for torpedoing projects thereafter.
Yeah, hold me back here.
Well, that's where I'm going. Have you played Beyond Good and Evil, Johnny?
I did.
Because I played a little bit of it when it came out, but I just played it from beginning to end this week.
Isn't it great?
It's really great.
Good. You passed.
I was expecting it to be good because it's a beloved, cult game, and I remember it being good at the time, but I didn't get very far. I think I played it at a friend's house or something. So I went in with expecting it to be just kind of a cool little old game. It's 10 years old at this point. It was really good. It still holds up. I played it directly after reviewing Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty Ghosts, and I enjoyed it.
I'll bet you liked it better than both of those games put together.
Exactly what I was going to say. I enjoyed it much more than both of those games. It's full of personality. It still looks good. It sounds good. It plays good. It's funny. The level design is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's funny. We think of there's certain big names in the industry. You got your Molyneux and you've got
your Cliff Blazinskis.
You got your Blazinskis, your Miyamotos. Do people know about the Beyond Good and Evil guy? He's also the Rayman guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to mispronounce his name. Do you want to help me here? I want
to hear you go for it.
Okay. Is Michel Ancel?
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Okay. It's Frenchy, so I figured you'd be closer. I didn't want to be it's Michael Ansel.
Oh, no. Make no mistake. I was taught how to speak Quebecois French in school. Mm-hmm. That is largely considered by many people who speak actual France French as being dog speak.
That's hilarious. But, you know how I feel about Rayman. That's the gold standard of platforming. And as far as Beyond Good and Evil goes, Michel Ancel, or however you want to say his name, he's someone we should be talking about. He's a really good game designer.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. There's this idea in game design, about conveyance.
Yeah.
It's the idea that you want to convey to the player ideas, but you don't want to tell them. You don't want to go here.
Unless you're making a Zelda game.
It's actually Zelda-esque in some ways. It's you got this big overworld. There's side quests, things to collect, people to meet, but then there's a couple areas. They're essentially dungeons, if you will, in the Zelda tradition, full of puzzles, and then there's things like that. It's almost Zelda in structure with more stealth. It's it's stealth focused.
No, that's understandable. I just mean when you talk about the term of conveyance, one of the things that Zelda games do a lot these days is be take this. You use it like this. Do you see that over there? Use it on that. Oh wow, that was amazing. You figured it out.
Zelda games, I love Zelda games, but they often they're almost schizophrenic that way. Either they hold your hand so hard that you can't feel your fingers, or they just go figure it out, asshole, and just kick you out.
Yeah, all right, that's fair.
There's no middle ground there in Zelda. You play the original NES game, it's just haha, Have fun, jerk.
It's Zelda. The original Zelda game is the closest thing I've ever experienced to a game running up, kicking me in the balls, and then running away.
Here's the thing about Zelda, and I don't know if this is like sacrilegious to say, the original Zelda was designed specifically to get you to subscribe to Nintendo Power. The Nintendo's early days, they were about selling strategy guides, selling subscriptions, selling all that kind of stuff. That's why there's all those secrets in the early Mario games. It's not because they were, they were made with any kind of more skill or craft than they are these days. It's because the only way you could find out how to get to that level was by looking it up in, Tips and Tricks magazine. There's all those things. I mean, the reason the Pokemon games are broken up into two versions was to sell both versions. I love Nintendo, but we all
know that they're all running businesses here, and we're all complicit in buying stuff from them. That doesn't mean we don't have to, that doesn't mean we have to dislike them. We can still get along, but at the end of the day, as long as we're yes, I will pay you more, please take off your top.
I love Nintendo. I just want to say, as much as Zelda games work for me, there are many of them that don't, and I'm not going to put especially the first couple on any kind of pedestal. Where was I going beyond good and evil?
Because it's so amazing.
It's very good. The level design is such that you never feel lost, but there's always a sense of exploration. You never know what's quite going to be around every corner, how to do every puzzle. The stealth's a little undercooked. I mean, I don't know.
I think that was a limitation more of the time than anything else. We've seen the stealth genre evolve so much over just even the past. I'm trying to remember what year it was that Thief got released. I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a roundabout 10 years and just say I recognize that Thief may not have been released in the past 10 years, but we've seen the stealth genre change so much even just in the past 10 years that kind of going back to games that were testing the waters can really lay bare some of the limitations of the time.
Yeah, I think it would have been closer to what people expected 10 years ago. Nowadays, the stealth doesn't hold up. But it's not bad. It's just kind of simple and old school. But, I mean, everything else about the game is great. It has a lot of personality. It's just really cool and fun. And, the story in the a lot of people say Jade is one of the best female protagonists, and it's she doesn't have that much personality or character, but she's just kind of a normal dude. She's just a person. That in and of itself is actually kind of triumphant compared to most female characters in video games.
Yeah.
She's just a human being who has feelings.
Yeah, they don't have to be wait, how are we gonna make her feminine? How are they gonna know she's a woman? I know. She'll cry.
Oh my God.
And make a joke about makeup. Then women will know we're on their side.
Yeah. It's more about what Jade doesn't do than what she does do. And that just speaks to the low bar is characterization into the industry. But I enjoyed her, and I would love to see that Beyond Good and Evil sequel that supposedly is in development somewhere.
It would be nice. Please, Michelle?
You know who else?
Pretty, please.
You know who else's name I saw in the credits?
Who?
Yves Guillemot.
Ah, yeah.
So, hopefully he wasn't too influential, because he's gone now.
He's always a Skype call away.
Just call him up. Oh my goodness. It's always strange to see his name in the credits after everything went down there.
Yeah, it's a little...
For listeners who don't remember, that would be the guy who was instrumental in the Prince of Persia and Assassin's Creed series, got fired over creative differences, went to THQ. THQ went under, and he got absorbed back into Ubisoft and fired again.
Because one time wasn't good enough.
Yeah, but... Whew, yeah, it's strange. I always think of Ubisoft as kind of this monolithic foreign entity. There are names there, and there are important people that we don't talk about a lot.
Yeah, no, it's
weird.
I feel like they've done a lot to endear themselves to the community. Certainly more than they've done to alienate themselves, but nobody's perfect.
True. I did really like Beyond Good and Evil though. It hasn't lost its charm.
Holds up, definitely. I would agree.
It's a strong game. The only besides the kind of besides the aged stealth mechanics and stuff, my other criticism would be that it suffers a little bit from my personal pet peeve of design. It's where it's like, stop what you're doing, go collect 10 orbs.
Yeah.
It's not as long as you're paying attention and you explore everything fully and you play the mini games, you won't find yourself too many orbs down. But like once or twice, it's like, okay, I gotta go play the game with the little shark guy and get a pearl so I can buy an upgrade. You know, it slows the momentum down a little bit, but it's not overbearing or anything.
No,
it's not terrible. But that would be another nitpick. But it's still a great game, and it's such a shame it didn't sell well.
Well, don't you know? Apparently it was a mistake.
Yeah, I can see why people were grumpy about that. I hope Child of Light is a success. I'm totally all about that art style. Have you seen it?
No.
It's like storybook, kind of like the concept art for Final Fantasy VI kind of style.
Okay.
It's good stuff, but we'll see how it plays. It looks nice, but that's that game, I guess. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about beyond Good and Evil?
Not especially. I mean, anybody who wants to check it out for themselves, as they should, because it's a really, really, really great game. You can find it on sale pretty much for dirt cheap. I think it's on Steam and Good Old Games both. Pretty sure it's down to like $5 or $10 at this point in time.
Although, it's funny, I know I'm not the first one to make this observation, but the name is a little misleading because there is no moral ambiguity about anything.
No, there really isn't. It's not really beyond good and evil at all. It's kind of falls pretty strictly within those.
Those are actually very apt descriptions of what is going on.
I mean, you know, like unless you want to start whipping out a debate about the whole concept of ethics and where ethics come from and whatnot, but you know,
I was expecting a little bit more Nietzsche when I went into this than I got.
Nah, definitely not a lot of it. It's more about like, how do you dispose of your orphans?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Is it truly wrong to kidnap a bunch of people and absorb their life essence?
Hey,
is it?
Austin, if it's truly wrong to do that, I don't want to be right.
Oh, Johnny. You're the shining beacon of morality in my life.
That's right. I am the compass by which all should set their maps.
Okay. I played Tearaway, Beyond Good and Evil. Oh. And I played one more game this week, which was Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy, I think is the subtitle. The first Jak and Daxter game.
The very first Jak and Daxter game?
The very first.
Good.
The HD version of it, though.
Oh, well.
Sorry. Fuck.
Jeez. That was sad for a second there. We could be like all elite. I'd be like, I was into Jak and Daxter before Jak was into Daxter. Or is Daxter into Jak? I don't remember.
I think Daxter is on Jak most of the time. He rides around on the shoulder. Actually, last week we had Taylor on here, and I was like, "Oh, have you played Sly Cooper?" And he's like, "Oh, is that one of those collectathon things?" And it's not. Sly Cooper isn't. But the way he said it, I was like, "What's wrong with collectathons? I fucking love Banjo-Kazooie, you asshole." But I can kind of see where that came from.
Uh-huh.
God damn, Jak and Daxter is a collectathon in the truest sense.
Really?
It just starts, it's like, the plot is, don't worry about the plot, collect 20 eggs, 1,000 of these little doodads, 40 of these, and see me back at the fucking village. I was like, really? That's what's going on here? That's the entire game.
Really?
It's broken up into areas. There's like, there's a beach, and there's a mountain, and there's a fire level. But everything you do is about collecting these things called power cells. And to get power cells, you got to collect these precursor orb things. They look like eggs to me. And you got to collect these bugs that are in these little boxes. It's like, that's it. Just collect everything. That's what the game is. And that sounds like I'm being harsh, but There's a zen-like quality to it. If you just kind of surrender yourself to the collectathon, I love Banjo-Kazooie, and it had a lot of that going too. And it's just like I liked Banjo-Kazooie more than Jak and Daxter because I had more personality. I liked the world, like the art style, the music, the voices. You know, the voices in Banjo-Kazooie.
I'm a little loath to actually call them voices, but
well, yeah,
they're like voice sound effects.
Exactly. They're like they have personality. I remember like the way like everyone talks in that game.
Yeah.
But like Jak doesn't talk. He has no lines, like no personality. Like Daxter does, but he's really the only one in the game who says anything of note. Like the Jak and Daxter isn't a bad game. It's Naughty Dog. It has tons of detail and like things that probably didn't need it. Like there's a lot of like work and love in it, but it's really just a sandbox for collecting. And there's something to be said for that. Like if you're just chilling out and just collecting some orbs on a lazy Sunday.
Yeah.
But I prefer the kind of Banjo-Kazooie approach where it's like, what's the next level going to be? Like I'm going to be collecting feathers and puzzle pieces, but like where? Like that's what's cool to me about those games. Where it's like Jak and Daxter, it's like it's going to be another temple. It's pretty similar to the last temple you were in. So that sounded really harsh. I liked the game more than that sounds, but I can see why they don't really make collectathons anymore, do they?
I don't think as focuses anymore.
There was one that got kickstarted. Let me look this up. A Hat in Time, it's called. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, the name rings a bell actually.
Yeah, this is the literally the last collectathon I've heard of since like the PS2 era. It's called A Hat in Time. It was kickstarted for 3DS and Wii U. I'm on the Kickstarter page now. Oh my god, the first video on the Kickstarter page is us.
What?
It's not us, Blistered Thumbs. It's the Video Games Awesome people.
Oh.
Actually, I saw that at a couple. I've been to a couple Kickstarters recently where like the first thing is like video game website Blistered Thumbs said this about our game, and I was like, we did?
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh look, yeah. You know who's doing the music for A Hat in Time?
Who?
Grant Kirkhope, composer for Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, yeah, son.
Great tunes. Yeah, it all comes full circle. Oh, it looks really cool, too. But yeah, I don't have anything against collectathons as a design objective. Like, collect things. Like, there's fun to be had there.
Yeah.
I just don't think the first Jak and Daxter made it as compelling as it could have been. And my understanding is that the sequels are very different. So I'm looking forward to playing the rest of the HD collection. Apparently it goes like dark, gritty shooter or something.
Yeah.
We'll see where that takes us. I was a Ratchet and Clank fan during that era when all those games came out. So that's what I was doing. I missed Sly and I missed Jak. So I'm going back. I've gone through all the Sly Cooper games in the HD collection. Now I'm doing all the Jak and Daxters.
I don't remember what year that was. So, 2001 was when Jak and Daxter first came out?
Yeah, I was 11.
I was 21.
Ratchet and Clank came out in 2002. So yeah, 2001, 2000. This is the same era.
I'm just curious as what notable games came out in 2001. What was I playing? Aliens vs. Predator 2? Yeah, I remember that. Oh, fuck, yeah, Baldur's Gate 2. Yeah, that's what I was doing. That's all that I was doing.
I'm looking at the list of releases in 2001. Mega Man 64. I remember renting that. Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Ages. I played the fuck out of those games.
Civilization 3, Clive Barker's Undying.
Sonic Adventure 2. All about that. I don't know if that was which version was that? That was the Dreamcast version. Came to GameCube in the next year. So I played it on GameCube. Yeah, damn, 2001 was a great year. Gran Turismo 3, all about Gran Turismo 3.
Final Fantasy X.
Oh, fuck. Silent Hill 2?
Oh, yeah, I was all over that.
Eco, Devil May Cry. Oh, my God, is this the best year in gaming history?
Oh, what the hell, son?
Is this what the F? Super Smash Bros. Melee? Is that true? Are these all that old? Yeah, 2001.
Wow.
I think, Johnny, we just found the best year in gaming history.
We might have actually done so.
Yeah, there's Jack and Daxter, Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin. I love Pikmin. Halo Combat Evolved. You might have heard of that.
Grand Theft Auto 3. And say what you will about Grand Theft Auto, but I mean, like, geez.
That's, yeah.
Three pretty much, it put that series right on the map, man.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Ooh, IL-2 Sturmovik.
That's a plane game.
Max Payne. Yeah, I think we might have actually stumbled on the best year in gaming.
Yeah, damn.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was quite a year. Good God. Ew.
Yeah,
Missed free. No.
Oh, loses major points. Take everything back.
Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey.
This might explain why I missed Jack the first time. I was fucking busy this year.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Parappa the Rapper 2.
Classic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Punch, kick.
Oh, man.
Oh, Rogue Spear Blackthorn.
Now, I present to you the second act of this podcast. Austin and Johnny read Wikipedia entries.
Again.
Part 2.
Oh.
Revengeance.
No. Sorry, I was checking to see if there was like a really good Star Wars game that year, but not a chance. Rogue Squadron 2.
Oh, I like the Rogue Squadron game.
Yeah, Rogue Squadron 2 came out that year. That was pretty good.
Which one is that? Oh, that was the game. Dude, I was all about Rogue Squadron 2.
Yeah.
On the GameCube? That's good stuff.
Yeah, this was a good year. Austin, if we ever invent a time machine, let's go back to 2001.
I cut you off there. I was so excited. Twisted Metal Black. Black and White.
Zone of the Enders.
A flawed but fun game.
Yep.
Oh,
and
man.
of course, XCOM Enforcer.
Hey, they can't all be gems. I like I don't know if you're on the same page as I am, but it's at the bottom it's like the best selling of that year, and it's like Diablo 2, which came out the year before,
Yeah,
still crushing it. I remember like just years of my childhood, Diablo 2 being in Walmart, like the one like my family went to.
Oh,
it's just I just thought it lived there. I didn't PC game much of the time, so I just thought it was like, you know, Diablo 2 is just eternal.
Yeah, it was pretty what is it, top grossing video games of 2001? The Sims, even though I think The Sims was released like 2000. The Sims was crushing it in 2001.
Yep. Things. It seems like things had a longer shelf life then, maybe because there wasn't as much of new information available all the time. Like always crushing you with the latest releases.
Yeah, I mean, the market was obviously less flooded then, and I think there's also there was a lot of. I guess the way that games were designed back then too, like this whole idea that we were still dealing with games that had like lives and health, and you picked up health packs, and they were very punitive. We still hadn't really pulled away from the whole "we want your quarters" kind of gameplay.
We still haven't a little bit,
well,
but
some developers, yeah.
Actually, that reminds me. One of the funniest things to me about Jak and Daxter was that you need 50 green pellets, little orbs, to get a single bit of your health back.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Come on. Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? Was that an Easter egg? Are you fucking with me? Because you get hit 3 times and you die, right? And it's like if you get hit once, that's health is gone. You're not going to collect 50 green bits to recharge that one. Like, are you kidding me? No. That's an elaborate joke. Oh my gosh! I wonder how they change that. Like, do Jak and 2 and 3 have recharging health?
I don't know. I do not know.
We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna be getting to those immediately because of next gen stuff and review stuff, but my thoughts will be coming sooner rather than later on Jak 2 and 3.
All right.
I feel like I need to say like one nice thing about Jack, before we go, because I did actually like the game, but everything I said was negative. You know what? It didn't really teach you how to do anything. That's not nice, but that's something that occurred to me. It's like, hey, push this button to jump, push this button to punch. You figured it out, go. And it's like, oh, you probably should have told me about like the rolling jump or like the crouching jump or like any of those really super necessary techniques that you need to beat the game. Because I kind of just figured those out on my own. That would have been helpful.
You're supposed to be saying something nice.
I know, that just reminds me. Because I'm used to games from that time, either holding your hand or just giving you no direction.
Yeah.
And that it felt like it took like 2 steps and then something caught its attention and it just wandered off. Nice. The boss fights suck. Damn, that's not nice either.
Shall we leave it?
The fishing minigame is super tedious. No, damn.
Austin, sometimes the nicest thing that you can do is turn the other cheek and walk away.
Hold on, I'm gonna say something nice. The HD upgrade was really nice. Yes, it looked better than it did when it came out originally. How was that?
Scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I'll take it.
Oh man, someone's gonna be upset about that. I can feel it already.
You play anything else this week?
Nope. Tearaway, Beyond Good and Evil, Jak and Daxter. That was my week, I believe. If I played something else, I don't remember what it was. I apologize to that game. Maybe you should be more memorable, game.
Yeah. Games.
All of them.
All of them.
I think that's it for the week. Next time we meet, I should have Xbox One stuff to talk about. We have reviews coming up for PlayStation 4, Xbone, Tearaway. What else? Let me look at the sheet. I know people are working on stuff.
Should be exciting.
It's very exciting. It's not exciting, I'm sorry. Oh man, a lot of people working on stuff. Ratchet & Clank review should be going up tonight. Oh, Gabe is reviewing Senran Kagura, a.k.a. the boob game.
Oh boy.
I actually put it in the Skype chat. I was like, anyone want to review Senran Kagura? Xseed sent me a code. Just nobody. Dead silence, crickets for hours. And I sent it to Gabe. I was like, hey, you want to review the boob game? And he was like, hell yeah. Oh yeah, I find his actual response. Yeah, he said, is that the booby game? Hell yeah. Oh, Gabe, you rapscallion. But then after that, after the next-gen stuff, the only games coming out for the rest of the year are Ys, Gran Turismo, and Sorcery Saga. So nothing super important.
No, it's going to be a quiet December.
Everyone just scooted right the fuck out of the way to make room for the new consoles.
Which is kind of fucking weird, because you would think that somebody might actually have a game for the new consoles.
Well, Watch Dogs wasn't ready.
Yeah, Ubisoft. What the fuck's up with that?
I mean, I'd rather wait until it's done, but that was a blow to everyone, I think.
Yeah. We all suffer.
But yeah, are you starting to get your Game of the Year list together?
I'm thinking about it. I've been thinking about it, it's hard to find any real standouts this year, to tell you the truth. The only games that I played this year that really, really jumped up on me were indie titles.
I don't want to go and give away my entire honor roll here, but I think if you're listening to the show, Fire Emblem and The Last of Us are definitely in contention, as well as Gone Home is another big one. But we'll have some kind of feature on the site. Now I'm looking at next year's games. We'll probably, I assume Sean will have like a Thumb Wars on next year's stuff. He did that last year, but are you looking forward to Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13?
Oh, man, just like my next colonoscopy.
Yeah. Actually, someone asked me on Twitter if I was going to review that. It's either me or Sean. It depends, because it comes out on the 11th of February, which is close to Bravely Default on the 7th. So, I don't know. I'll probably end up reviewing one, and he'll review the other. We'll see how that works out. But also, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, The Thief reboot, Dark Souls 2, Titanfall.
We'll see about the Thief reboot.
They removed QuickTime events.
I like that. That's good.
Next year is looking interesting, though. It's just a lot of things got pushed there that were perhaps aiming at the end of this year, like Donkey Kong and South Park. And I guess we needed the new hardware, but it didn't help the holiday season lineup all.
No, it didn't. Everything kind of slowed to a crawl.
And the stuff that came out was kind of disappointing. I mean, like this time, like the last 2 years, we had like good Call of Duty, good Battlefield, good Batman on the shelves, and now it's like we have those games this year, just none of them are good.
Or at least as good.
True, but it just feels like this was kind of a strange end to the year. Like, it was a really solid beginning, and then it's like all these big name titles came out. They just all underwhelmed. I think it was the console transition. I'm sure Battlefield and Call of Duty are better on next gen. Yeah. Apparently Tomb Raider is getting ported over. That's the word.
Yeah, definitive edition or whatever it is. Complete edition that completes me.
Game of the year.
Something like that. We won too many awards at the Spike VGX's edition.
Still didn't make our budget back, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Square Enix edition. All right, do you want to wrap this beast up? Just slurp loudly for like a minute. I'm going to go, and I'll leave all this in post.
Damn good tea.
I think that was my favorite ending we've ever done.